Hello and welcome to my guide to soloing Valithria Deamweaver in 10-man normal. Now, I'm doing this fight on 10-man normal just because it's easier to do this way. A few people wondering how I do this and then go into solo heroic Lich King 25. You can do the raid on regular and then go back in, you leave the instance, you switch it to 25, and then you come back in and switch it to 25 heroic. So this is how this is done. As a blood DK, a lot of people were having trouble because they can't figure out how you can heal the boss. What you're going to be doing is using your blood parasites. When they explode, they will heal the boss for 5% of your health. So the trick is just to keep the suppressors down and make sure that the risen archmages also die. I've actually mind control Captain Rupert. You can use any of the ads from the previous section. If you go out and just use your basic, control undead on them, that way you can bring them in here. They have a little bit more health and they survive better. But primarily, what you're going to try to do here is you're going to use white hits to hit most of the mobs. That way you can, not kill them off, summon more weird blood parasites, and they can in effect feed off of them and explode and heal the boss. So the things you're going to need to know, as you saw earlier in the fight, that I am using a low-level main hand weapon. I'm actually using one of the PvP weapons from Wrath of the Lich King. That way I don't do too much damage and kill them. It really helps out a lot. So other than that, you're going to want to be in Blood Spec, Blood Presence, and you're actually going to wear tank gear except for using two one-handed weapons. As I said again, the one-handed weapons give you more chances to spawn bloodworms and you won't kill the mobs so fast. I'm actually using a current level, it's a 550 PvP weapon, just so I have enough damage if I have to, obliterate and start getting overwhelmed, I can kill them all quickly. Another thing you're going to want to notice, I'm not putting diseases on anything. If you disease them, they're going to die too quickly and it's not going to help. Also avoid Blood Boil. Blood Boil is not going to help you spawn your bloodworm, so it's not going to do you any good once again. So just kill the suppressors as soon as they come out. They are #1 priority. You're going to nuke them down as quickly as you can, and after that, like I said, the Risen Archmages, they just become a pain because they'll start knocking you up in the air, and that's very, very counterproductive for what you're trying to do. Secondly, as you can see, you're going to keep them as close to her as possible. If you have a Band-Aid, when you first run into the instance, it is nice to kill off all those little Archmages that are there, and then Band-Aid the boss, but, it's not necessary. And this is honestly just a patience fight. You're looking at about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 30 seconds, something like that, and you'll have it down. Another thing you do want to take note of is don't ever jump in those little green circles unless you think you're going to fail it and want to reset it. Because if you jump in and you're the only person here, it's going to force a reset of the fight. So you want to definitely avoid that. Also, I've been a bit sloppy with this particular run, as you can tell, but you want to try and use your vampiric blood as often as possible. That way, when they proc, whenever you're what do you want to call it? Whenever your blood parasites pop, they'll actually heal the boss for a little bit more because it's 5% of your health, or your maximum health rather. And do bear in mind, this is my first video, so a little patience. But I actually just made this because a couple of friends, like I said, they were having some trouble with it, and couldn't get through it. And I understand, I had a lot of trouble with it myself at first, but after you get this down, it's very easy. Heart Strike, nice to use. You hit multiple enemies, it gives you a better chance to spawn, more of those bloodworms we were talking about, or the blood parasites rather. Other than that, though, as you can tell, I use my death strikes on the archmages, so I'm not putting too much damage out elsewhere and killing them fast. And that is pretty much the long and short of it. Another thing you may want to take note of is that the longer the fight drags on, the more ads are going to spawn and the more quickly they're going to spawn. So what you're going to want to do if you do find yourself to be overwhelmed, just dot them up with your diseases, blood boil them all so they all get nuked out, and will give you kind of a fresh start. But once you get to that point, you should understand that you are going to have too many coming in too fast, so you're going to need to finish it up rather quickly. If you find that you're having some issues with this, another trick I found is to pick the priest if you can. If he's still alive and, well, undead rather, you can actually use your control undead on him and use him to heal the boss a couple times. That'll add roughly, 100k healing. It's not a lot, but it does help. And little things like that will help, but you will not be able to use your band-aids for anything other than that first initial section of the fight after you kill those first 4 Arisen Archmages, because people will be hitting you too often. And that's it. So thank you very much, and I hope this has been helpful.